Okay, so let's talk about how to analyze text. The series of videos that I will be uploading inshallah will mainly focus on A levels English literature, but I would recommend them to anyone who's trying to analyze text, whether it's just for fun or it's, for your high school course or your college course. Inshallah, these videos will help you. So, what kinds of text? There are three main kinds of text that I will be covering. There is poetry, there is prose, and there is drama. And drama includes plays. Okay, so there are four basic categories that will be prominent in all of these things, and then I will be, discussing things that are only for for a specific text. Okay, so the four basic categories that we will be discussing are structure. Structure includes your punctuation and your line breaks. It's basically how the poem looks at first sight, or sorry, how the text looks at first sight. Next, we have form, which is usually only seen in poetry because your form includes your rhyme scheme and whether there is a half rhyme or a slant rhyme, whether there is a consistent rhyme scheme and stuff like that. Next, we have sound. How does the poem sound? Now, remember, poems are meant to be read aloud, and if you can, please read your poem aloud so that you can, really get the meaning, really get what the poet is trying to say. So, sounds include your recurring letters, any alliterations, any onomatopoeia, and obviously they're not just specific to poems. You have seen onomatopoeias and alliterations, I'm sure, in plays and prose as well. Next, we have language. So, language includes, your basic diction, your basic words, and it also includes your figures of speech. And your figures of speech include personification, similes, metaphors, allegories, allusions, all of that. So let's talk about things that are specific to prose. Now, it's not like prose doesn't have language. Obviously, it does have language. I'm just talking about things I haven't discussed before that are specific to prose. So we firstly have voice. There's always a voice, there's narration and then there's voice. So in voice, there's a point of view. Whose point of view are you seeing it from? It's not just limited to first person, second person, or third person. It has more depth to it. Even if the writer is writing in third person, you can still clearly see that the voice is of this certain character. Okay, so next we have narration. What kind of narration is the writer using? Is it unreliable narration? Is it a narrator who knows everything and uses words like in hindsight? There's a lot to discuss here. So, next we have context. Obviously, for any kind of text, you need context, you need background. Why did the writer write this? But I feel like in prose, it's very, very important because, your context is a major part of this major project. So next we have settings. Obviously the settings matter in your piece of literature, and you have to take care of when the novel is set and where it is set. And then we have symbols and imagery. Now symbols and imagery are a part of language, and I will discuss them in language. But I have included them in prose because they are very, very important in prose and in plays. They're also important in poetry, but because poetry is usually a smaller text, you don't really see recurring symbols. In prose and in plays, there are very, recurring symbols. There are heavy, heavy symbols that, um, you know, remind you of a very central theme of your text. Next, we have characters and events. Obviously, if you're reading a book, your analysis should include the characters, how they interact, and what happens to them, because that's just what the book is telling you. Lastly, let's talk about plays. I will say the same thing about plays that I said about prose. Plays do obviously contain other elements like language and voice and narration, but these following elements are more specific to plays and you will find them commonly in plays. So yeah, you have to concentrate on that whenever you're analyzing them. So the first one is the pace. The pace of the dialogues, and how fast and how quickly the characters interact, and their back and forth. All of that matters when you're analyzing a play and its dialogues. Now next we have stage. So an important thing to remember is that plays are a visual medium. They are not like prose or poems that are meant to be read. They are meant to be seen. So while I do realize that you guys won't really have a chance to see them or, act them out, plays do have their stage directions written in them. So if you open like a play of Tennessee Williams, you will see that most of the text is italicized. That means most of the text is stage directions, and so you have to take care when you're analyzing plays that how the stage is set up, how the characters are acting and all of that. So lastly we have the audience. Obviously it's a visual medium, so there will be people seeing it, and you have to take care of the audience. How will the audience react? You have to imagine yourself watching the play unravel in front of you, and you have to take the audience's reaction into consideration. And this includes things like dramatic irony, and that when the audience knows something that the characters themselves do not know. So yeah, these are all the things that will be covered in the next few videos, inshallah. I hope this video helped, and I'll see you in the next one.